to the Recovery Daily podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abassi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And today I wanted to talk about this. I guess it's a big combination of something that was an epiphany for me this morning. And I was sharing in my meeting, like, I can hear the same thing over and over again and think the same thoughts over and over again and have the same sadness or feelings of being a victim kind of over and over again. And then one day it'll hit me what my role is and what my action is. So I'm going to try to articulate that this morning, and it has to do with abandonment. And those of you who are lifetime listeners know that I've talked quite a bit about this abandonment issue that I have. And I don't know if there's any one particular event in my life that led me to have this abandonment issue, or if it's been consecutive experiences where I have somebody in my life and they're deeply ingrained in my life and in my heart, and then they leave and they don't come back, period. That's the quote I always say to myself is people go away and they never come back. So some of the events in my life that I feel may have fed that abandonment issue are things like my parents divorced when I was 2. So something like that, like what you knew of before, and I don't remember ever having my dad live in the same house with me, but I'm sure as a 2-year old, I was observant to know that this person was here and now this person isn't here anymore. I'm guessing, but so you have this life around you, the people around you, and then something changes and one of them goes away and life is never the way it was before. Um, my sister and my brother are older than me. My sister's 8 years older than me, and my brother's 4 years older than me. So when they went off to college, they left and they never came back, right? I had this childhood where my brother and my sister were always there, and they were I had my constant in my life. They were my friend. They were um obviously meant the world to me, mean the world to me. But when my sister went off to college, um, she went to college and started a new life with new people and life as I had known it was different. And it never went back to the way it was. Um, then my brother left, and my brother went to college. And then after college, both my brother and my sister did not return home after college. They began their lives. My brother moved off to Lake Tahoe. He drove across country with his dog and started his life there. And my sister, although still fairly local, um, started her own life too. She got her job, she was a teacher, um, and so what I observed from where I sat was that they were gone and they were never coming back. And I never got this. And if you're listening, brother and sister, I love you. And I'm really just articulating what that feeling was like for the sake of if there's anybody else out there who is a youngest child and experienced the same thing. I'm not trying to insinuate something should have been done different on your part. So, with that said, when in my experience as a youngest sibling, um, there isn't a conversation that happened where I got to sit down with my brother or sit down with my sister and say goodbye, you know? And to let you know what I'm feeling internally as I talk about this is a big, big, heavy sadness and gravity in my chest, a little lump in my throat, because it's something I've carried with me my whole life. I'm 50 years old and I still feel sorry for that little girl. And I was young. I mean, I wasn't little. I was young. When my brother left, I was I was a freshman and I had just finished my freshman year in high school. When my sister left, I had just finished elementary school. I was little then. Um, and my sister played a different kind of role for me. My mom worked very, very hard. And when my mom was not able to be home, my sister and my brother really took on this caregiving role for me. They were just wonderful and still are. The best big brother and big sister one could have, I feel like. And so when that kind of role model in my life left, it made me feel like lost, not knowing really what replaces that emptiness that's left behind. Um, when my sister left, I was just going off to middle school. And that's a very they're all influential years, but this is middle school was when I started being exposed to drinking, smoking. It seems very young, but that's exactly what happened. And although I didn't smoke until I was a freshman in high school, which is still very early, I was the people around. I was seeing that not everybody was like me, and that there was a girl at the bus stop who would smoke, and I was just like, "What is happening? She is smoking." Um, but a little part of me was like, huh, I wonder what it would be like if I did these things. And eventually I did do these things. Um, and I didn't have a peer-ish sibling to go home to and talk about these new ideas that started to spark in my mind. Um, so it was very deeply rooted, this sadness and feeling that I was abandoned. And I didn't talk about it because honestly, I didn't know it was there. I knew that I felt sad. I knew that I felt confused. And I knew that I felt like what used to be will never be again. But I had no idea at that age how these experiences develop into, again, deep rooted pain. It, 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 it happened over time, but it grew. And I began to write poetry in middle school. So my sister had gone, but my brother was still home. And I began to write poetry. I don't think that was affiliated with my sister leaving, but at that time, that's when I started really feeling a lot of pain. Um, I did not, again, affiliate that with my sister leaving at that time. And I still don't think that it was due to my sister leaving. I just think that that was the maturity level that I was at when she left, is that I started seeing that the world is not the world that I thought was around me, this comfortable, safe bubble. I started to see the pain in other people, the tragedy, the sadness, the bad stuff in the world, the scary stuff. I started to see that and didn't know what to do with it, with those feelings. So I started to write and I started to put actual words to the feeling and the pain. So, uh, fast forward to I I got married. I mean, I went off to college, all of these things. When I left college, so when I left high school, when I graduated and went off to college, any of those friendships that I had were over. And they never were the same again. In fact, I mentioned a woman that I have just reconnected pretty solidly with that I grew up with. And that relationship being there at my fingertips right now is something that I needed. And I told her that yesterday. I said, I have needed you. And I don't know that I recognized that I needed her, but I needed to fill some of these gaps that have really split wide open in my life. I feel like my life is so different and the people around me are so different that I have found myself in stroke recovery wanting to have relationships back with the people of my younger years. The people that were like family to me, and she was one of them. There's another woman that I have been very slowly connecting with, but it's not the way that I have with this one. And I'm trying, but maybe I'm not trying hard enough. I'm not quite sure what it is. I don't know. But when I went to college and left college, same thing. Like my roommates in college were my best friends. And I have rarely talked to them since then. I have visited both of them, but the ones that I roomed with for a long time. But that kind of died out. They both had kids, just like me. They both had kids, and the I just have never been great about picking up the phone and trying to nurture those relationships. And my sister, she has a friend that I think the one that I've connected with recently, my sister's friend that she has the same relationship with, they have been friends all this time. And so my sister's 58, and I have just started to connect with my sister's friend because my sister's friend was like a big sister to me. So I've been able to start connecting with her too. But I was never able to maintain my relationships the way that my sister does. And my sister puts in a lot of work to nurture relationships and maintain relationships. And I have heard over the years how sometimes that's not reciprocated, and sometimes it is. And I think that for me, when it's not reciprocated, I give up as if that person doesn't like me anymore or doesn't love me anymore because I'm going to go from being hopeful to being a victim and having a reason to get depressed. Um, like that, like in the snap of a finger, because that's just my personality. So, what that brings me to is in my meeting this morning, the theme was about I'm not alone anymore. Um, and in sobriety, getting into the fellowship and starting to have people do work to be my friend, to call me, to put in the work to have a friendship with me was something that I was not familiar with. When I was with my drinking friends, we put in the work, and the work was to go get a box of wine and show up at each other's house. That was the work. Um, in sobriety, the work is to be empathetic and compassionate and um, to enjoy each other on a different level because we're not numbing anything. We're just sitting, we're allowing silence to happen even sometimes. And when when I for the first two sponsors I had, and I hadn't picked up the phone to call them. It's a habit of mine to not call my sponsor. Um, it's almost like I'm setting myself up for failure. I'm setting myself up to not have a relationship that is promised to me. Um, it's like comparatively, it's like what I do with my family, what I do with these long lost friends is like I'm already telling myself that they don't care enough about me to call me, so I don't call them. And that is self pity. It is, it's like, I can't think of the word. It's just like, yeah, setting myself up for failure, setting myself up to have relationships the way that I feel like um, I deserve, and relationships that will eventually go away. So why try now? That's probably the best way to describe it. And that is something that both my addiction therapist and my psychiatrist talked to me about is, yeah, they say, and this was kind of the epiphany this morning, they say, they being the world, they say that relationships are two-sided, and it's as much your responsibility as the other person to pick up the phone or to put in the work to nurture the relationship and to maintain the relationship. But, but, um, I feel like it's not gonna do anything or something. I'm not really sure how to articulate it. I feel like if I put in the work, nothing's gonna change. They're still gone and they're not coming back. And um, the best way that I can describe, the best example I can describe it in is my son going to college. Um, And hi, son, if you're listening. I don't think he listens, but I love you, son, if you are listening. When my son went to college, it was absolutely one of the most devastating times in my life because of my abandonment issues. I knew 100% that as soon as my son walked out the door, my life was never going to be the same. And it hasn't been. It hasn't been the same. Um, I knew 100% that when my son left, he was never coming back. Life as I had known it, as I had cultivated it, was gone, and it was never going to be the same. So at the same time that my son went to college, I got sober. And it was in his first year, and really it trickled through his much of his stay in college. I did not put in the effort to call him like I see now other parents do. And the reason why was because I was feeling sorry for me. I was trying to rip the band-aid off and let my wound heal without trying to put ointment on it. Like me calling him and maintaining this mommy son relationship, like I have back now. And that's what I call it, mommy son. But trying to hold on to that, like I said yesterday, like tying a rope around that and holding on to it only to get rope burn. Um, that's what it felt like I was gonna do if I kept trying to call him every day. I think a big one was that I knew he was at college and I knew that people change a lot when they go off to college, and I didn't want to hold him back. It was me when my son went off to college. And I still to this day want to apologize. I want to hold him and tell him I didn't mean to hurt him by not calling. It was me trying to figure out what I was supposed to do, what my role was now. If I could go back, I would do it totally differently. I know what my role was, and I didn't fulfill that role successfully, I feel like. Um, my son, when I have brought it up, has articulated to me that I didn't make him feel that way. Um, my son is also a very sensitive, caring mama's boy. And I know he would never want me to feel like I did something wrong. But these are a lot of my abandonment issues that I have actively been looking at, trying to work it out in my head to process what have I done in the past? What can I do now? And how can I continue to be better for the future? Now, daughter going off to college was different, not because I wasn't devastated. I absolutely was devastated, but I was devastated until she called me. And then she called me again, and she called me again. And my daughter would call me and tell me about her day. She kept the relationship going in the same sense that it existed when she was in high school. She would tell me about her day like she did in high school. And it was so just heartwarming and fulfilling for me to have her do that. And I don't know if she knows that. I don't know if I've told her that, but I should. And if you're listening, daughter, I love you too. And I love you both the same, by the way. They always say, so who's your favorite? I'm like, I love you both exactly the same. Anyway, so that is an example of somebody in my life who went far and beyond to maintain the relationship that I had when they were with me, um, as when they're gone. Another person who does that today is my sister, and I have a big lump in my throat. Sorry. Because my sister makes sure that she calls me at least once a week. And when I say that I'm doing something that I'm really proud of, um, she is always the first one to respond in this encouraging way. She responds to me very much the way someone in my sobriety would respond to me. And that's not to say that my brother and my mom don't do that, and my dad and my stepmom, but there's just this feeling that my sister gives me that I used to have when I was little, and I used to play school with her. And I don't know. Sorry. I think I'm feeling really um I don't know. I think I'm in that place right now where I want a lot of that stuff back. I want to build a really safe, comfortable life around me. And I think outside of this development of my relationship with my higher power, um, I'm also seeing that I can I can get back that safe and comfortable environment with the people that have been in my life that I have lost touch with. So, I can't think of the word that I'm trying to think of, but I think it's obviously important that I'm talking about it. And I know I'm not unique, and I know that it's important to share the deep pain that sits there for years in our lives. And it takes work to chip away at it. Um, I've always been looking when I was drinking, and even in sobriety, I've been looking for what I have now. And I don't think that it was something to be found. I think it was something to resurrect. I think that sorry, I have a tickle in my chest. That safety and comfort that I felt as a child in my house with my mom and my brother and my sister is something that I've always wanted to have back. And I was looking for it. I didn't know how to get it back. And I think that I've had a lot of damage inside of me that wasn't allowing me to really even be open to building that safety and comfort around me. And it's not just around me environmentally, it is inside of me. It's filling the inside of me. It's filling that dark place with light. And by chipping away at it and continuing to practice letting go of these ideas of abandonment that have just continued to take residence inside of me, inside of my heart. By letting go of that, I'm able to make space for inviting these people back into my life. And I've learned that through my sobriety program. I think I'm feeling so emotional because in stroke recovery, I have felt a fear and loneliness and despair that I have never felt in my life. Um, Even in my drinking days, even in early sobriety, I have not felt the loneliness, hopelessness, and fear that I have felt over the past 3 years. And I'm just fighting to not feel that anymore. And I think I'm making progress, but I only am able to make progress when I'm able to get to this point, this crying point, because that is how that deep pain gets pulled out of me. It has to come out in tears. That's just who I am. And I don't cry a lot anymore because I think that the stuff that hurts me is so deep inside of me that I don't even know how to talk about it. I don't even know how to put words to it. And that's kind of my attempt today is I am trying to not feel alone anymore. And as much as people are around me, I am trying to work to get back that feeling that I had. And and I think that it's happening for me. And that's what I was telling my friend yesterday is that I needed this. I needed that feeling that she gives me. And I'm really grateful that she's willing to nurture our relationship. So if you're listening to this episode yet, I think you're like 100 behind. I don't know. But I'm really grateful for you. And I'm grateful for all of you that are in my life. And a lot of what's going on isn't something that you can do anything about. If you're my family member or friend, it's something I have to work out. And I appreciate all of you for letting me do that. So that's all I have. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.